Okay, I'd like to correct some errors. And before anyone jumps to any assumptions, I am not about someone spending money unnecessarily. I've already said many times that 95% of people don't need a light meter. I've also said that 100% of people can benefit from the use of a light meter, and it certainly doesn't have to be a super expensive one like the Sekonic 758 that I have here, which has an incident meter and also has a 1-degree spot meter. You can also calibrate it to your camera. You can calibrate up to 3 cameras. You actually take some test shots, 3 stops over, 3 stops under, of like your color checker passport or the color cards that are available from Sekonic, and then you upload that via computer, USB port to the Sekonic meter, because every camera is different as far as how it registers base ISO, what it actually thinks that 18% gray is at 3 stops over, 3 stops under, and you can calibrate your light meter to that. At the very least, someone should buy a gray card, and you can get a gray card, and they make them little necklace jobbies that are the size of a credit card, a little bit bigger, that hang around your neck for like $3 from China. They're all over eBay. This is 18% gray, zone 5. 18% reflectance. This is like a little DKK color chart. This is a little color checker passport. This is a perfect tool for saving enormous time in Lightroom after the fact for white balance and exposure. Saves you an enormous amount of time. It folds up, fits in your pocket. It's a color checker passport. Got a couple of those. Why do I have a couple of them? Because my old one is old, and you're supposed to replace them because they actually fade and whatnot, and you accidentally could touch them, which I have accidentally a few times after 2 or 3 years. They still work fine, so that's why I've got 2 of them. So let's answer some questions about incidence and reflectance. What is in your camera? It doesn't matter if you have a Canon, a Sony, a Fuji, you have a reflected light meter. Whether you're metering for spot metering or center weight or matrix, it is reflectance. It is only measuring the reflected light off of whatever it is coming to you. So if you have a lot of chrome into the scene, you have snow, you have a black cat in a coal mine, you have a polar bear in a snowfield, your camera, well, it doesn't matter if it's matrix, spot, or center weight, it is going to turn the white snow into this. It is going to turn the black cat into this. And it's like, well, is that a gray cat you took a picture of? No, it's a black cat in a coal mine. Well, your cat looks gray. What does that create a problem for? If you can actually adjust your exposure slider in Lightroom, why on earth does that create? Why I can take care of it in Lightroom? Yeah, that's half-assed. It's kind of, I used to live in Russia. It's kind of how Russians do everything when they build things. Kind of half-assed, like half-assed is good enough. Well, I can take care of it. Okay, so you want to piss away your free time adjusting things in Lightroom, and you just want to try shooting a wedding that way. You got to adjust hundreds of pictures. I mean, no bueno. The other reason why is that in most shots, if you have 4 or 5 stops of dynamic range, 70-75% of your detail is up here in zone 7, 6, 7, 8, and 9. That means that if you have to not only, if the correct exposure is here and your camera tells you, and the back of your LCD screen makes it look okay, and your LCD screen is a POS, by the way. Chimping is for chumps. Everybody chimps off the back of their camera, but that's not good enough. It is best guessing. It's like, that looks good enough on the LCD. And you bring it up on your monitor at home, you're like, whoa, baby, that looks totally different than it looked on my LCD out in the bright daylight. The color space for your LCD has no connection to the actual color space that was saved on your RAW files or, God forbid, JPEGs, whatever the hell you're shooting. I hope you're shooting RAWs. Your camera is exposing over here. The correct exposure is over here. It doesn't matter if you correctly raise it up in Lightroom, whatever application is you're using. That means that just like where white stuff is blown out, it's blown out. You forget about it. You can't fix it. There's 3 things you really can't fix. Stuff that was blown out, and stuff that was never captured to begin with because it was way up here and you exposed it down here, and autofocus issues. You know, if it's out of focus, you know, you're really kind of screwed. If it was never captured to begin with because the correct exposure was here but you exposed over here, then you're screwed. Blown highlights, you're screwed. Autofocus we know about, but people think that you can just do total magic in Lightroom, and it's almost the case, but not really the case. There are 1,000,001 things, and people think, why do I need, I haven't hard enough time figuring out how to use my camera. Why do I need to introduce this scientific piece of equipment? There are about a million different, I can make like 10 videos off the ways that what your light meter can do that your camera, I don't care what camera it is, can't do. It's like, well, I could guess. You know, I could use the Sunny 16 rule, or I could expose for the snow and open up 2.5 stops. Guesswork. Guesswork. You can do that, and you know, you'll be safe. But if you're doing a paid-for client shot, a wedding, where you know you can't, you know, once it's done, the moment has passed. You have screwed up. You know, so far as color correction, okay, you can color correct, not a problem. You screwed up on that. You accidentally exposed for tungsten lighting, and you were set for sunlight. Okay, you can fix that. If your exposure is too far off and you've lost those details, you're bracketing nonsense, and no client is paying you to piss away time at night fixing your mistake. No client is paying you to fix your mistakes at night. Get it right the first time. There's that old saying, measure twice, cut once. What can this meter do that is so insanely important that no damn camera can do? Basically all flash photography. Well, I can stick a speed light on this and TTL it, or I can stick a cord between it, a TTL cable. Yeah, you can do that. That is one speed light. Okay, you take it off of your camera, forget about it. That means every damn studio strobe and off-camera speed lights, your camera is a useless POS. This is 100% useful in that situation. This is 0% useful in this situation. What's another reason? Whether I'm using, I can use this to trip wirelessly because there's a radio transmitter in the back, or I can use a PC sync cable to trip my speed lights or my strobes and meter it wired or wirelessly, because this mode exists both ways. This is the top of the line light meter. It will tell me the percentage of my incidence to my flash, which is incredibly important. I say I've got one speed light outside, it will say like a 67% flash and the rest is ambient. That's going to tell me a lot of information. As far as layering the flashes, what I need to do, if I know what my main light is, this is my main light, my main studio strobe coming in for this particular illumination. I have another fill light over here, and I got a background light over here. All I have to do is meter my ratios off of my main light relative to my main light, and it will tell me what it is. Okay, 250th at 2.8, so I'll meter for the background light 2 stops underneath that, or 3 stops, 2.5, 3 stops. That takes 2 seconds. Everything doing that is 100% useless friggin' guesswork on a camera. It is spray and pray. You got, you know, one speed light. People think, and this is the biggest stupid BS mistake people make, because they see this scientific piece of equipment and they think that this causes you to waste time. It does exactly the damn opposite. It causes you to speed up. It causes you not to guess and poke and fumble like a blind person poking in the dark with a seeing eye dog. That's exactly what this does, and people make that huge mistake. Every camera is also a useless POS when it comes to incident light. It is a reflectance meter inside your camera. Okay? Incident light meter does not take any consideration. If I'm metering this piece of wood here, you know, it doesn't matter whether it's white. This is like a zone 7. Zone 10 is pure white. Zone 0 is pure black. It doesn't matter if it's pure black, pure white. It doesn't matter what color it is, speckled purple, pink polka dot. The meter reading from the incident light dome when I'm on incident reading is going to be exactly the same. I can meter incidence and spot using speed lights or studio strobes, not only one but multiple ones, and then meter accordingly and actually change my lighting ratios very, very quickly using a light meter, and you can't do any of that with any camera. I don't care how expensive it is. At the very least, get a color card. As I mentioned in the prior video, there's no difference since your camera does not have an incident light meter reading. There's no difference, and this is a key important factor. Like I'm actually taking a meter reading here. Okay, 200 at 2.8. I'll stick, since your camera has a incident light meter, all I have to do is turn this over to reflectance. Look through here. This is doing the exact same thing your camera is doing. Whether it's center weight metering or spot meter reading, you give this to a model or put this in whatever shot it is you're taking, like this, and take a reading. There's no difference between using the incident reading off of this and taking a spot meter reading off this 18% zone 5 card. Equally valid because they will both turn out the same. Okay? That's why actually having a gray card like this for having a model, or it depends on, also, you need to talk about this in other videos, where the lighting is too. I mean, you can place it here, but I mean, if you have some serious specular, like some sunlight or some oddball light coming over here, so you don't actually overexpose, you can actually do another thing. See, I could go down the list over many. I can sit here and take a reading, hit my memory button, take another reading, hit my memory button, and then click delta average, and it'll give me an average between multiple readings. Not only that, but since I've actually calibrated this to specifically my camera and 2 other cameras, it will tell me here on the bottom if I'm within the dynamic range of my camera's capability. It'll tell me if I'm about to go over, if I have gone over, if I'm about to go under, or if I have gone under. Your camera can't do any of that crap. The light meter, if you know how to use it, and it does not take that long how to use a light meter, it does take a while to learn how to perfect the use of a light meter. I've had 4 light meters now over the past 25 years. I went for a dry period there, not using one 10 years, taking care of my wife dying of cancer, but that's another matter. So chimping is for chumps. You can sit there, bracket, and spray and pray on the exposure. Gotta at least buy a gray card. I mean, I could buy a light meter, and I don't want people to piss away money. Spend $3 on a gray card. You can get them on eBay, $3. There's like a bazillion of them made in China. So a meter will tell you what the actual percentage of your flash is, which is critical for flash photography. No camera can do that. All incident light meters meter the flash, and you're able to do averages and work off the ratios of multiple different lights, which your camera cannot do. With your camera, you're simply bracketing and taking a best guess. And when you're actually chimping off the back of your LCD screen, every DSLR shows you only a mere histogram of a processed 8-bit JPEG, and the LCD screen is not within the color space of the actual range of the dynamic camera, nor of the raw shot that was taken, which means, well, it kind of gets you in the ballpark. It's still a worthless POS as far as chimping off the back of your camera. It's like, well, it kind of tells me, you're right, it kind of does, but it's still some pathetic ass guessing. You bought this expensive damn camera with its specific, wide spectrum dynamic range, and all you're doing is pissing away the potential for getting the most dynamic range of a shot, especially a shot that you're being paid to do. I'm just going to guess. I'm going to bracket it, and I'm going to look at it. Okay, so you want to piss away a lot of time at night, staring through like 600 pictures instead of like 200 pictures. I got 200 pictures versus 600 pictures. Not only are the 200 far more accurate, but I don't have to weed through them. Nor do I have to fix the mistakes in them. So it saves you time, saves you effort, saves you loss, saves you the guesswork. This tool, the biggest stupid mistake people make in thinking about this tool is that, well, this is a time pisser. I see someone with a light meter like, oh, geez, who the god needs a light meter? Well, let me tell you what, I've owned every Nikon DSLR made. Okay, I don't care if it's a Canon, a Nikon, a Sony. They all have a stinking ass, worthless ass reflectance meter inside them. And a reflectance meter, if you know how to use it perfectly, is only at its very best very good. It's never excellent, and you have to know what the hell reflectance is versus incidence. This is far better for many reasons. I can average flashes. I can work off calculating my flash ratios. If I'm using more than one speed light, it's very simple. It's not guesswork. It's not poking in the dark like Helen Keller. I'm going to bracket the hell out of it, and I'm going to pick the best one. Good. You piss your time away late at night in front of the computer. I'll just go up here and go click. Oh, there it is. Dial it in. Boom. Isn't that easier? Isn't that save time? Time is money. Oh my God, saves you money. In other words, a meter pays for itself, if you're serious. I know of no studio photographer. Now, if someone actually wanted to argue with me and say, well, if you got your lights set up in your studio and you've already got them dialed in, you don't need a light meter. You know what? That is true. But that is only true if you're a stinking Sears photographer where the lights have been never been moved in 10 years and the power settings have not been moved in 10 years and the camera hasn't been moved. You just place someone in front of you. If that's what you're doing, you're right. You don't need a light meter. You sit there and you've done all the guesswork and you're just taking one boring shot. You never, I know of no professional photographer in a studio where the studio strobes are not being moved around constantly, intensities, angles. That is some crazy stuff. I mean, if you're ever moving the lights, the intensities, the angle, You gotta have a light meter. Yeah, if you're a serious photographer and the lights are always there and you're like, next, bam, next, bam. You're right, you don't need a light meter. You could have like 4 or 5 studio strobes. They haven't been changed in power or location or direction in 10 years. Like, next, bam. Well, yeah, so you can't make that comparison. That is what we call a false analogy. So, that's it. I hope I kind of explained the extreme advantages of a light meter. And, even the very best camera, the reflectance meter in it is a pure guesswork. And even if you're a master of knowing how to spot meter, this is one advantage like colorblind people have. They're able to see in a zone system. If you actually know what 18% gray is in your scene, if you're lucky enough to have 18% gray, like there it is, there's 18% reflectance, zone 5 gray. At the very least, if you don't want a light meter, and I'm not telling anybody to buy a light meter, go at least buy a gray card for $3 and learn how to use it. And it's going to take you all of a few minutes to learn how to use a gray card. And then you'll notice, oh my God, my pictures are coming out better exposed. When you start forgetting about exposure and autofocus, then you can concentrate on taking the picture. And that alone makes your pictures better. Okay? That is undeniable. Thanks for watching. Catch you later on the flip side.